What's up everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Ask the Paradox, where I answer all your dance questions or questions related to dance. Now this edition will be a little bit different because I will stick to one topic and answer several questions that have to do with this same topic. The topic that I'm going to talk about is groove and flow. Both Matthias Lai and Leon Masembe talked about these topics and asked me something about it. Matthias asked the difference between groove and flow, and Leon asked me to explain more about flow and how to actually practice it. So groove and flow are terms that we use a lot in the dance community, but what do they really mean? When we see someone dance, what makes us say, yo, that's the groove, or hey, that was great flow? The truth is, there is not one meaning. A lot of people mean different things when they talk about these terms. Now there's no good or bad, but knowing more of them will really help us to be able to talk with each other and understand what we see in dance with each other and have a better conversation in dance. When I say it has different meanings, think about the word bad. Someone can say, this is a bad dude, and mean he's bad, he's not a good person. But someone else can say, yo, this dude is bad, and he will mean this dude is good, right? Different meanings for the same word. We have the same thing in our dance community, and I'm going to talk about a few of these meanings to make sure that we understand what we're talking about better as we dance it. Why would it be important to understand the meaning of the word? Well, when you're talking to someone, or for instance teaching someone, you have to know what you're talking about and what you are teaching. Otherwise, nothing is coming across and we cannot all come together in the same understanding of dance. That's why it's important. It will also help a lot with your dance. Knowing what you are doing will help you to be able to express yourself more. So what are the several meanings of groove? Like I said, different people have different meanings. So most of the times when we talk about groove and we ask for a definition, people will say groove is feeling. This is somewhat true, but if a ballet dancer would dance, she would completely feel her dance, what she's doing with every move, but she's not grooving. So grooving is not feeling, grooving comes from a feeling. And this authentic feeling makes us move in a certain way. That's the first definition that people would give to groove. The second one is staying into the groove. What does that mean? Well, when people talk about staying into the groove, they're talking about staying on the pace and the vibe of the music. So if the music would have a certain character, a certain personality that would either be funky or maybe not, dancing to it, whatever move you would do, you would stick with the vibe of the music. You would stay in the groove of the music. Also, like I said, the pace is really important, because if there is a certain pace to it, I would go and try to get all these instruments, but maybe I would go too fast or too slow for the music itself. And I would not be into the groove, into the pace and the vibe of the music. The pace, this is the pace, just to make sure, right? The counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this teaches us that maybe the sounds that are in the music can be fast, but the pace is tight. Now if we focus on the too much, the intricate rhythms, the sounds that we have, maybe we might lose the pace and might lose the feeling of the dance, for instance. So that was number 2, staying into the groove. What about groovy? When someone says, yo, this dude is groovy, what are we talking about when we say that? When we talk about someone being groovy, we kind of talk about someone expressing themselves inside of the pace of the music. So when you have that pace, there is there. Instead of just showing the pace, boom, 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 she is almost stretching out, she or he is almost stretching out that pace, completely giving her or himself to that music, to that pace, to that rhythm, to that timing that is inside of the music. When you hear, I can, or I can go and stretch it, right? You understand what I'm saying, hopefully. So number 3, groovy. Number 4, before dancers even talked about grooves, we had musicians talking about groove. And that's where the actual word comes from, not from us as dancers, but from musicians. So understanding what the musicians mean when they talk about groove helps us to understand what we are doing as dancers, because we dance to what they created. When musicians talk about groove, they talk about the relationship and the rhythms between the bass and the drum. That's what they talk about. if the bass and the drum connect in certain ways and they kind of help each other out, you could say, and they line up in the right way, it creates a certain rhythmical vibe. It creates something that we have to move to, we have to dance to, because it's perfectly in line. If the bass and the drum would be off and they would not be rhythmically connected, they would sound different and we would not be able to pace ourselves inside of it, because they both have a different rhythm and we can't connect the dots. We don't understand what's going on, and then our body would not be able to. I saw this video where a jazz dancer talked about it. He said groove comes from the wood, because if you have grooves in the wood, the cuts in the wood, and you have groove for this beam of wood and this beam of wood, now I cut it out, I cut the grooves out. If I connect them perfectly, they fit with each other. If the bass and the drum would both be a beam of wood, we would have to cut them in a way that they would fit together. And that's the same thing as grooves in the sound, in the music. They have to fit together in the way to make us feel in a certain way, rhythmically connected. So these are a lot of definitions to the same word and what they could mean for different people. So understanding this will help you to understand different people when they dance, not only when they talk about it, but also when they do it. Now, my personal definition that I created for myself is this. For me, groove is repetitive motion to the rhythm of the music. Repetitive motion means it repeats itself. There's a pace that keeps coming back. And to the rhythm of the music basically means the rhythm, bass, drum, pace. When we put this together, and when I try to dance and vibe out to that in a repetitive motion, repeat myself, then we're doing groove. So I hope that makes sense. I'm going to move to the next topic, which is flow. Now, when we talk about flow, we again have several meanings to it. Knowing all of them will make you understand the beauty of the full thing. When we talk about flow, we can talk about the flow of movement or the movement of flow. What I mean by that is this. Flow of movement means when you go from one point to another. So let's say the transition from one move to the other, from one place to the other. It can be both. It means that if I have this place and this place, the way I go to that, the smoothness of me going to another place, that's the flow that I have in my dance. When I talk about the movement of flow, I'm not talking about going from this place to another. I'm not talking about transition. I'm talking about the continuation of movement, of motion inside of my body. So instead of me going to a place and going back, it is now how this part connects with this part and this part connects with that. How can I move my body around in a way that it always continues and follows up? So we have two meanings. Number one, flow means going from one place to the other, or from one movement type to the other movement type. The second one means not the transition, but the movement inside of our dance. Can I fluidly move from my head to my shoulders to my chest to whatever? The third meaning that I can give you is style. Sometimes when people talk about flow, they're not talking about movement or not talking about continuation of something like water. They're talking about their style. This is my flow. This is the way I do it. For instance, if you have a rapper, when rappers talk about their flow, they're talking about their way of lyricism, the way they rhythmically use their words, the way they emphasize on certain part of the words and slowly say other part of the words, or fastly say some part of the words. That's their flow. The same thing we have in our dance. The way we dance, the way we move, what we focus on, what our emphasis, and what are the stuff that we small do or big do or whatever, that's our flow. So the third one that we can talk about is style. The fourth meaning to flow is the connection to the music. Sometimes when we talk about someone having flow and their flow being nice, we're talking about how they can ride the beat, how they can stay inside of the music and basically touch all instruments that are in the music without stopping to go to the next instrument. So going over the sounds, maybe here's the bass and then I go to the drum, but keeping a certain same vibe inside of their dance. The transition between instruments and the continuing to stay inside of the groove of the music and have the same inside of the pocket feel. So now we had transition from point A to point B. We had continuous motion inside of the body, going from head to chest to whatever. We had personal style, that's my flow, that's my own style. And we had connection to the music, or riding the music, staying inside of everything while still hitting the instruments that are inside of it, and not disconnecting from certain parts of the music as I dance. Now when I talk about flow, I talk about continuous motion to the harmony of the music. Continuous means it always continues, it never stops. There's no repetition, there's no stop. It always keeps going, like water. Even if it crashes into something, it moves away and it keeps going. Don't confuse it with a wave. A wave has flow inside of it, but I can also stop my wave. So flow is continuous motion to me, always keep going. To the harmony of the music. The harmony of the music is when instruments come together and they fit perfectly, like with the groove, remember? But then with the bass, the drum, the sounds, the melody, the piano, the whatever else there is, if they fit together and they create certain harmonies, connections with each other, the feeling that you get from that harmony is a certain vibe that you can hear, and that vibe creates a story that is higher than just the sounds. It creates an emotion, right? You can hear a song being happy, you can hear it when a song is sad. That's not one instrument that does that. It's the connection of the instruments that create that story for you. And when you dance to that vibe, when you dance to that certain something that is inside of the music, that aura, that's when you're in flow. That's what you dance to when you dance flow. Of course, you can dance to more things, but that's my explanation to it. So what is the difference between groove and flow? But I think after this explanation, you understand it yourself as well already. Flow continues. Groove repeats, right? Let's say it like this. If I have a piano and I have a metronome, the metronome is like groove. Why? It stays to the pace and make sure that we understand that pace. It gives us the speed, the timing to where we move to. The piano is on this pace, but can also go through it because I can speed up, I can slow down. I can make so many different sounds. I can go wherever I want to inside of the pace. So the pace or the metronome is like groove. The piano, is like flow. That's the difference between them. So those were a lot of meanings, and there might be even more. And that's the beauty of it. Everyone has a different meaning for dance, but understanding them and understanding all the meanings will help you so much with understanding why a person dances like the way he does, and helps us to talk with each other, have a conversation with our movement where we can understand each other even though we mean something else. For me, there's nothing more beautiful than understanding what a dancer needs. I feel amazing when I see someone dance and I know what he's going through, what he feels, what he's talking about when he dances, what he's trying to express. Now, how would I practice flow? I think from this understanding and listening to what I just said, you already get a certain sense or your own ideas of how you can actually practice these terms and practice the stuff that is inside of it, right? But just to answer to the question completely, I'm gonna give you two things. Number one, practice going from one position to another, to another, to another. Let's say 4, 5, 6, or 7, 8, whatever. Let's say 4 positions. Try to go from these positions, dance inside of these, but as you dance in them, go from the one to the other, to the other, to the other, without stopping and continuing the same dance that you are doing as you go. As you do this, you will express flow from one place to another. The second thing that I want to give you is this. Think of an 8, yeah? An infinity sign. Now take this 8 and put it inside of your body and try to rotate or try to create this 8, for instance, inside of your head, or maybe in my shoulder, or maybe in my chest, yeah? If you practice this, you practice creating 8s everywhere you can, you will get a nice exercise where you can practice the flow of your movement inside. So I give you exercise for outside and inside. They're kind of basic, kind of simple exercises, but they will help a lot to make you understand what the movement feels like. So guys, I hope this was a useful video. I know I didn't answer a lot of questions this time, but for me it was really important to get this across to you guys completely, so that I make sure that this groove, flow, etc. thing is clear for everyone, especially for the younger generation dancers, to know what we're talking about when we're talking about these things. Eventually, what I want to say is that it's good to know, but don't pin yourself down on it. There is freedom in this dance and you can do whatever you want. So even if I talk about groove and flow, don't go and just practice having the fluid motion and it's just tools for you to express yourself in dance, okay? These are not the requirements to be good. These are helpful things that help you to find whatever you like in your dance. So guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it helped a lot. I see you guys next week. Peace, love, and unity. Paradox is out.